Up across the 15, cuts left at the 20, on the room at the 30, headed to the near sideline, one man to beat, makes the move at midfield, coming to the near side at the 30, he's at the 20, he's at the 10, 5, touchdown Kentucky!
Touchdown Kentucky, Jalen Whitlow, Aaron Gershon for the Cats Paws. Jalen Whitlow, former UK quarterback. You heard one of his highlights there, making plays for the blue and white there at Kroger Fields. Might have been still Commonwealth Stadium at the time. Either way, Jalen ripping off a big run. Fellas, we licking our wounds from Tennessee. Mississippi State is looming. How we doing? How are we this evening?
Man, we're doing all right, man. It's a busy time of year. I'll put it that way. I feel like my head's been below water a little bit, but that's how it is in November in Lexington.
Yeah, like I said, busy time of year. We were just talking about Starkville, and if I were a Kentucky Wildcat, I would be feeling indifferent. Due to the, you get a chance to bounce back, man. But damn, you got to go to Starkville.
Oh, indifferent.
Yeah,
indifferent, sleepy. That's the word that was thrown around before we hit record on this episode of Believe in Kentucky. We're live streaming on Twitter, Believe in Kentucky, Facebook, YouTube. Get in here, leave some comments, tell your friends about the show. We cover all things UK and other little stuff in between, NFL, NBA, Aaron's Giants and Yankees and whatever else is going on, and all that good stuff. So we come in here licking wounds from Tennessee. 3-game losing streak. Kentucky is 5-3 now after starting 5-0. Going to a place where they haven't won in, let's see, I've lost track now.
2008.
That's what I was thinking that, and then I was like, no, that ain't right, but there it is.
And that's right. Also their last, and this is the last opportunity to do it. That is their most recent SEC West road win. And obviously division play will be over, after the season. So last opportunity.
Mississippi State lost to Auburn 27-13. And this is, look, and y'all got y'all's thoughts and can't wait to hear them. It's my theory. I said before the start of the season, it doesn't always hold up, but you playing a first-year coach, you got to jump on him. Zach Arnett, first-year coach, he, tragic passing to Mike Leach. He is now in that seat. You established 10 years, 11 years in, Mark Stoops. You can't let this guy get you in year one. That doesn't always happen. No. We know Heupel came up here in year one, and we get all that. Jeff Brom is in year one. He's been a head coach before. I get it. Zach Arnett's never been a head coach. This is his first time in that chair. He went from a DC to there, and they're trying to adjust, and Will Rogers is out, Mike White. Who knows who's going to be quarterback?
Yeah, sounds like right. Yeah.
Jump on this dude. And look, every first-year coach inherits different situations. The cupboard ain't always bare. Sometimes you get a good team. Sometimes you're mediocre, whatever. But when you've been there a decade and got your culture and organization established, you got to be the first-year dude. You can't.
Yeah.
I don't care that they're desperate for a win. They just lost to Auburn. I get it. But, hey, go down there and end this streak.
Yeah. I mean, look, they haven't lost other than Heupel, and I kind of, Tennessee, whatever, and I think they lost to Pruitt his first year. But putting Tennessee aside, the last couple of years they've been fine against these first-year head coaches, but they've given up some marquee wins for these first-time head coaches. Shane Beamer, that was a marquee win for him last year. If they don't win that game, who knows if they get hot in November, and this year he's done already. Eli Drinkwitz, that was a big road win for him a couple weeks ago. He's had a little more success, I'd say, than Beamer, but overall, this is his first year really taking off at Mizzou. Clark Lee got his first SEC win in Lexington. So you don't want to add Zach Arnett to the list if you're Kentucky. But look, objectively speaking, man, we'll get into the history, and Jalen's played there and can tell us why this is such a brutal place to play. But this is not a good Mississippi State team. We're just calling it what it is. Their defense is the better part of their team, especially with the 2 middle linebackers, Nathaniel Watson, who is tied with the SEC leading sacks, and Jet Johnson, and that 3-3-5 scheme.
Yeah.
Tricky, but the secondary ranked 9th. Like, you can throw on them and build on what you did in the passing game last week against Tennessee. And offensively, man, they're a mess. Like, their one SEC win, they won 7-3. I mean, and that was against Arkansas's pitiful offense. So, I don't even give the defense for Mississippi State much love on that one. But just this offense, look, Mike Wright is a guy that has tortured you, but you've seen him. You should be expecting him. Woody Marks, their star running back, is questionable with an injury. The wide receiver play outside of Griffin is not very good. The offensive line's old but not very good. Like, this is a team you should beat up on, even though it's down in a place you've struggled. And if Kentucky loses this game, like, it could get really ugly. And you're staring like this. I haven't even considered them losing out. I heard a lot of that during the bye week. It would make me have that thought if they lose this game, because I think it's a toss-up between State and South Carolina, but this is probably the easiest game left on their schedule. Maybe Carolina, but I'd probably lean State after watching kind of
no doubt
teams play a little bit this weekend.
Yeah, I definitely think this is the easy, quote unquote, easiest game, left on the schedule. However, I think, Liam said something in his press conference. He said that there was almost like a glare of, what did he say? He said, of excitement or whatever word he used because of what they did.
Eagerness. Yeah.
Yeah. I can second that because, I'm sure the fans feel that way. I'm sure the quarterback feel that way. Just speaking from a quarterback perspective, you don't ever want to lose a game, but when you go out and throw for 383, whatever,
372, yeah,
372. There's a lot of positives you can take from that, especially when you've been passing for 105. So are you disappointed? Yeah, because it seems like there's a mental block when it comes to Wildcats versus Vols in football. It really is. I mean,
yes,
as bad as we were in 13. We played almost just as bad Tennessee team that year, and it's just we couldn't do nothing right. I mean, we didn't do much right the whole year anyway, but we couldn't do anything right that game for whatever reason. It's just bad, man. I don't know what it is, but Tennessee, in my opinion, I thought the talent level was comparable between both teams. I would even give Kentucky a slight edge in a couple different positions.
Sure,
so. I don't think Tennessee was just the glaringly better team as far as talent. I just think there's something going on. I don't know what I can't put my finger on it.
Dude, they made a field goal that doinked. It's just there's voodoo in the air in that game.
Yeah. Something's up with that. I don't know what it is, but however, like I said, I think from an offensive perspective, now defense is a totally different story. I think there were some effort issues, lack of toughness issues, physicality issues that obviously the coaches see it. However, offensively, you just need to get back to running the ball efficiently on first and second down so that, you can get yourself ahead of the sticks, because obviously your quarterback and receivers are starting to click, and they have shown that they can be really explosive. I knew that explosive game was going to come. We talked about it on here, that it was coming.
Yeah.
But we got to, talk about on this podcast, on this episode of how can they put it together, both spectrums, right? On the run side, the physicality side, I'm going to move you off the ball side, and on the other side of the spectrum, the speed side, the finesse side, the let's throw the ball down the field side, let's use our NFL caliber quarterback side. How can you merge those two worlds together and get them together on the same day at the same time? It's always the conundrum, or the challenge, I should say, when it comes to offensive coordinator, quarterback, and head coach of offense, or anything. So I don't know what's going on at practice. I'm not there. I don't know what's going on in the locker room. However, I do know that this easily could be a game where the defense gets you a little bit because they are so complex on defense. They do so many different things. You cannot go by your base day one install rules a lot of the times when you play teams like this, because they are always moving and stemming and stunting and changing and blitzing and just I mean, everything in the book. It seems like they throw the kitchen sink at you. They play the 3 safety look. You never know which safety is going to drop, which safety is going to be, a half field defender or middle third defender or a deep third defender. You never know. You just don't know. Like, this is the most complex defense out there, or one of them. So from an offensive perspective, you almost have to go back to what is good against everything? What have we installed like early on in camp or in spring that has been solid against whatever the defense thrown at us? What can sustain, what can stand, chaos at the end of the day? And that's what you got to roll with, because at the end of the day, you just don't know. It's hard to predict, exactly what you're going to get. So long-winded answer, but they got to go down there to Starkville and find a way to get a win.
And that goes back to my question. Liam, y'all talked about it. Y'all heard him talk about the same thing Jalen just said, how the rules don't apply against the 3-3-5.
Right.
And it's so different and it's so disruptive, and you don't know. Then if that's the case, Jalen, Aaron, why don't more teams do it? You see the NFL, sometimes the Ravens will, no down linemen, everybody standing up and everybody moving, and then the defense looks like they don't know what hit them. Like in the offense, sometimes when a team goes to a 2-3 zone, whoa, wait a minute, when you got to reset and go put your zone off. If it's so disruptive and it breaks all your rules and all your philosophies and everything you program yourself to do, and now we got to change it because these guys are doing this. How come they're the only ones do it? Like West Virginia back in the day used to do 3-3-5, but is it personnel? Is it just like a knuckleball? Only certain people believe in it. What do y'all think?
Since Arnett came in 2020, that's when they started this thing. They've had this is Marquise Spencer, Martin Emerson, Emmanuel Forbes, Cameron Young. So 4 draft picks, really good defensive linemen usually that, they play well in their 3-man front, and they've had some talented DBs. So I think personnel's played into it. I think the scheme has been effective at times, but this year, if you just look at it, the defense has not been very good. And they do stop the run okay. They're kind of middle of the pack in that. The 2 linebackers, like I was talking about, are really good. But I don't know. It definitely, I bet you Liam Cohen sees things on tape that he can attack. He's always going to be complimentary. And, Kentucky's offense it's kind of weird. They did just fine with it last year, and we know that wasn't a good Kentucky offense. They scored 27, which, is not elite, but pretty good. They hit some big plays. Rasan Lewis had a really good second half in that one. The big play to DeKel Crowdis. And then 2 years ago at home, that offense didn't get much going. But in Starkville, that was a game Will Levis threw 3 picks. So this game it's kind of been up and down against this type of defense for Kentucky. But the personnel makes a big difference. And if you look at Mississippi State's personnel outside of those 2 linebackers, man, it's not what they're accustomed to down there. And maybe they have some guys, some young guys on that roster that they're getting going and could be a factor later on, or I don't know exactly how it's going recruiting wise, but the personnel's it's not what it usually is down there on the defense side of the ball this year.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, to answer your question, why more people don't do it is, it's tough to teach. It's extremely tough to teach. You got Iowa State who kind of broke it into the modern way of doing it. But I just think it's extremely tough to teach. Usually teams do it when they don't have elite players everywhere. And it's, and it's just like everything else, man. Like, why do teams, like Ohio State for a long time, or like, LSU for a long time, line up in a 4-2 and play cover 1 or cover 3 the entire game? There's teams that still win at a high level doing that. But the flip side of that is you are very predictable. Teams can scheme you, and they know exactly what you're going to be in, so they can scheme you. But the flip side to the 3-3-5 is, guys can be out of position. There's a lot of movement taking place.
Yeah.
So you can easily, if you dial up what you may think is the right play and the offense dial up the right play, they may gash you because you just stunted yourself out of position. But the flip side to that is you can stunt yourself and move yourself and stem yourself in position to get a lot of negative plays, tackles for loss, sacks. So, it's just like everything else. It's a very high risk, high reward type system. It's a very high ceiling, low floor system. You get most people who run, like I said, 3-4, cover 4, cover 2, cover 3, like kind of your base stuff. And the floor isn't as low unless you just have bad players and bad coaches. But sometimes, unless you have elite players, the ceiling isn't as high.
Right.
I think teams like Mississippi State, teams like Iowa State, teams like TCU last year, they played a system and they're able to kind of cancel out their lack of talent in some places by disguising those guys and hiding those guys and being able to get those guys in certain positions where they have help. So they don't have to play, mano a mano. They don't have to play, head up with a left tackle that's going to be a first-round draft pick. They can move and stem that guy and kind of get half of them to where they can work only half of that guy's body and may have a chance to, get in the back. So there's pros and cons to everything. But, I think that system is really high risk, high reward, low floor, very high ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, look at last year, how Emmanuel Forbes describes it exactly, right? And we see he's kind of struggling a little bit in the NFL, but that's neither here or there. But, he had like 6 picks, a couple pick sixes. Like, he made things happen in that secondary. This year, they don't have that shutdown corner, and it's hurting them. They play so many DBs. But, yeah, I think it's exactly that. It is high risk, high reward. And so far, there hasn't been that much reward for that defense. I know they really struggled. They've really struggled outside of the Arkansas game most of the year. I think they gave 28 to Western Michigan. So there's no excuses, man. Like, I know it's going to be, I think it's their homecoming crowd, the cowbells, the curse that is playing in Starkville for Kentucky. It's all there, man. But there's no excuses not to attack this defense, especially in the passing game when you're coming off so the performance you had last week. And then, if they're going to play in a 3-man front and they're not going to, I know they'll move their personnel around and give you different looks, but I would think that's going to make it harder to stack the box and maybe get Ray Davis going a little bit again and kind of strike that balance. So, offensively, I think it's a better matchup than Kentucky's had, last week. And even though they were able to exploit some things better than Georgia and a couple other ones.
Yeah, just to see, but Jalen kept saying it, and eventually it had to come together as far as the passing, as far as the guys being open, ball being thrown accurately, and protection and hitting and it all clicking, and that was great to see. And as everybody talked about, Tennessee took Ray Davis out. That was like their
game plan.
One motive. That was their number one mission.
Yeah.
So
the DC admitted that today. So
so they were able to pick their poison. They we're gonna live and die and see what happens with Leary. Kentucky, on the other hand, Tennessee leads the league in rushing, 3-headed monster at running back. They run for 250. Now, if that's going to happen, you can't let Joe complete 90% of his passes. 18 to 21, only 3 balls hit the ground. You stop something. And they weren't able to stop anything when they needed to. That's what.
Yeah. Look, the defense is in a rut. There's no – I understand they played 3 top 20 offenses back-to-back here, but – 90% completion rate to Joe Milton, all the rushing, that can't happen. You have a guy fall down in coverage, just a brutal defensive showing. And it's really been a brutal 3 weeks for that unit. Beginning of the year, first 5 games, they allowed 76 points and extended that 30-point or less streak to 10. In the last 3 games, They've given up over 30 in all those, and they've allowed 122 points. So they're giving up more points in the 3-game span than they did in a 5. So it's really been brutal. And I'm not going to lie, I was a little concerned with some of the stuff that happened at the press conference today with J.J. Weaver talking about how the group is pretty uptight and how they're not finding any joy. And they're, obviously winning cures all. You win this weekend, you get it on a roll, you're feeling good. But this is the same defense that a month ago against Florida balled out against, and Florida's offense, to their credit, they're averaging 33 points a game since the game in Lexington. I understand, Vandy and South Carolina were 2 of the opponents there, but still, like, they had a really good first drive against Georgia, probably the best drive, one of the best drives anyone's had against Georgia all year. So, an offense that's doing some good things, and they're talking their crap after the game. Clearly their swagger and their confidence and they're having fun was there. So they got to figure out a way to get out of this rut, and I think they'll get back on track. But, the pass defense, that was a worry going into the season. Early in the year, it held up really nicely, but ever since they've been playing these better quarterbacks, they're in a rut. And I think it all starts, and Jalen, you touched on teams being able to disguise their weaknesses. And I think Kentucky, with the way they dropped De'Aaron Jackson and Trevin Wallace in coverage and kind of helped those safeties out, maybe disguise some of the flaws they have at safety. And I think, Ty Bryant played a great game last week. He's a freshman, but Zion Childers, like the one pass to Thompson, I think the Oregon transfer, Thompson, instead of just playing his man, Zion goes and dives for the ball. And that's why that big play happened. I think it was the 40-yard gain on 2nd and 20. So, stuff like that has been a recurring theme at safety all year. Jordan Levitt was struggling before he got hurt. Jalen Geiger was probably the guy who was playing the best in the room, but he's down. So they got to figure it out at safety somehow, and they got to just get back to doing what the things they were doing well, which is stopping the run and limiting explosive plays. Because this Mississippi State team, while they're not an explosive offense, they have guys who have beat up on Kentucky in the past.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think watching that game, and somebody who go all the way in is Van Howes, man.
Mm-hmm.
He go all the way in, but I do think you have to stop one, and this is not anything new. This is not breaking news. Kentucky's coaches know this. We know this. You can't allow a team to beat you in both facets.
Right.
You got to make Joe Milton beat you at the end of the day. And most coaches, I would almost say all coaches would go, I'd rather get beat by 2 touchdowns because the team just throwing the ball all over the yard than the team rushing the ball on me and beating me. That's demoralizing. Keeps the defense on the field. And it's just, something about that physical confrontation that you're not winning demoralizes a team. Not even just a defense, a team. And that's big. And also, I'm sure it's frustrating to those guys that, you can't stop the run and the DBs are getting beat deep in the pass. So that the play that the kid fell down, who was it?
Jordan Robinson.
Robinson. He fell down. He was beat off the line anyway.
Oh, the best play would have been to grab him and take the PI.
Yeah, it was going to be if it was a good ball, it was going to be a touchdown anyway.
Yeah.
I think, so I heard people mention that if he don't fall, well, he was beat anyway. He was beat. So, it's just all around. They just didn't play well. No. You have those games sometimes. You just hate for that game to come against Tennessee, man, where you just don't play well. So, I think the first half of Alabama game kind of got Joe Milton going, but that first half of the Kentucky game really got him going. He was running off effectively. He made some plays on scramble drill. He threw the ball pretty efficiently. And once you let a team that runs the ball that well, you let their quarterback get in that much of a rhythm, they are almost impossible to beat now. Especially when they have running backs like Tennessee has. Tennessee has 3 guys that really tote the mail, man. So, they got to bounce back. This is the perfect game to bounce back. Mississippi State's offense is probably worse than the nearest high school offense. They do have a quarterback who can fly though. If you let him get the crease, he can run now. I don't think Will, what's his last name?
Well, yeah, it doesn't sound like Will Rogers.
Rogers.
I don't think Will Rogers will be playing. So
I can't figure out what would be a better matchup, honestly, because they've been getting diced up in the past game the last 3 weeks. I mean, Carson Beck played his best game of the year. He's been great all year. I'll take him out. But Brady Cook, he's done a lot of good, and his yardage wasn't insane, but he was very, very efficient in that Kentucky game. And then obviously Joe probably plays his most efficient game of the year right there. So maybe it is better that they don't have to face Rogers, because Wright is not a great passer. I mean, even last year at Kentucky, I know he hit on the deep ball to either Skinner or Shepard on the play with Max Harrison there, but he completed under 50% in that game and threw a pick. This year's completion percentage is at 58, so about the same as Devin Leary, who's up to 57 after last week. But Rogers is a guy who I don't think he, the stat where he's the second or third leading passer in SEC history is misleading with the air raid stuff, but he's an experienced quarterback who's seen everything that a pass defense could ever throw at you, knowing that they were going to pass every play. So maybe it'll be better that they just kind of have to lock in on the run a little bit and be wary of the receiving game. But this Kentucky defense got to step up, man. They're not built to win shootouts. They're like the last game was. They're not built to win track meets. Like, it's just not going to happen if this defense can't get stops. I don't know if they're going to win another game. That's how serious it is.
Two things now. You mentioned being a little bit concerned about what JJ Weaver was saying today.
Yeah, and
you flash back to however the vibe was after the Florida game. Flashback even further than that, the vibe. SEC Media Day, gaining this weight, getting swole, put on this muscle. Now, we didn't say he was going to be the next Josh Allen, but we maybe expected a little more production from the edge in the terms of sacks and pressure, and that really hasn't happened. And so I'll let y'all talk about that.
Yeah.
And number two, Van Hou's been on here with us. Did Van Hou's lie? He goes in, he does his cut-ups about going all the way in, like Jalen said. If you're elite, no plays off. Did he lie?
No. No, he didn't lie. Look, if I think the world of Deion Walker. He's going to get a lot of money after next year in the NFL. But I know the play you were talking about taking off. I think the play that was really frustrating is the missed tackle on the shovel pass. Like, if you bring that guy I think it was third down, wasn't it? Was it third down?
May have been second down.
Or second down that would have set up a third and long. It was a play that would have helped you get off the field. And the easy play for a guy like that, and he can't make it. The missed tackles were just that's what was so demoralizing. Not to go off on a tangent, but what was so demoralizing it wasn't like Tennessee's offensive line manhandled Kentucky's. Like, they had the play where Deion did get a sack. You had the play where Ox and Josiah Hayes got in there for a sack. Like, Kentucky's front was able to get to the ball carriers, but they just couldn't bring them down. I mean, the play Andrew Phillips at the end of the game, that the 3rd and 7 run by Milton where you would have forced a long kick and maybe you get a miss in the ball back. Just like so many missed tackles. But yeah, from the edge perspective and getting a pass rush, I mean, it was something that they got off to such a hot start with this season, and it was really exciting. I mean, they were well on their way to pass. I think they had 18 sacks, they had 20 sacks as a team last year. And it looked like they were going to go get 18 sacks in 6 games, and now they're at 18 on the year. They had 20 last year, so they're two-way. They'll probably pass what they did last year, but it just hasn't happened. And JJ, he's at 3 sacks. He's been up and down. I thought the Florida game was the JJ Weaver we saw was a really elite pass rusher 2 years ago, but he hasn't been that steady force. I think they've had to get a lot of pass rush production out of Deion Walker at a position in the interior defensive tackle that's not necessarily known for racking up sacks at the college level yet, like it is in the NFL now. And then Trevin Wallace, your weak side linebacker, is second on the team at 3.5. So they're not getting enough of a pass rush, and that's been an issue. That was an issue last year. It's an issue again this year. And at some point, I don't want to question Brad White too much. He's done a great job, but at what point is it scheme? At what point are they just missing something on the recruiting trail with some of the pass rushers that they're getting in here? There are definitely questions that got to be asked there, because with the talent that it looks like they have on this roster at those type of positions. Like JJ was a 4-star guy. Keaton Wade was a 4-star guy. Darian Henry-Young was a 4-star guy. It feels like the sack numbers, TFL, should be a little higher.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not trying to be an ass, but that's true, man. Like,
I agree, man. I just, look, we know that they have a good coaching staff. I just think and this is my honest feel I get from this team. Good team potentially could have been a great team that I don't think they mesh well.
something's off again.
That's the feel I get.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong.
No, I've started to sense
I'm not
it too.
around the team. I'm not in Lexington. I don't know. However, from the interviews that I watch, from the players and the coaches, from what I hear, that's just hearsay in Lexington. I don't know if this team is meshing well from a personality, character, leadership type thing. I that's just the feel I get, from a team this talented and to lack and to be hot and cold like that and at times that's just what I get. I could be totally wrong. We know that they have good players and coaches. We know that, right? That's proven. That's stamped. We don't have to ask that question.
Sure.
However, from what happened last year to what's happening now, which again, I don't want to make this sound like this is because they lost 3 in a row in 2021 and came back and finished.
Oh, yeah.
But I just get a feel that something's not meshing well. A lot of times it's personnel, locker rooms type stuff. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I could be totally wrong, but this is just kind of the feel I get from what I hear and see.
Yeah, I can't disagree. And I know there are a lot of guys who are close in that locker room. I mean, we see it when we're there. Like the wide receiver room, that is a very close-knit group. I think the offensive line room is pretty tight. But yeah, there's something missing, man. When I was around that Josh Allen team in 2018, like that was they were inseparable, that team, and there was something special about it. And I haven't gotten that vibe the last 2 years, and it's been a little disappointing because of how much talent there is on this roster and how much I think of this coaching staff. So, and last year or the whole talk going into this year was how they handled adversity poorly and they wanted to turn that around this year. And I do think it's been a little better because unlike last year, I'm not questioning. I know there's the clip with Van and Dion taking plays off, but I feel like they've played pretty damn hard. I feel like the effort's there, the energy's there, where at some points it wasn't last year. I can tell you that. But there is just a disconnect and something that's holding this team back from getting back to what they were 2 years ago or what they were 5 years ago. It's just I'm not sure what it is. I'm sure if Mark Stoops knew what it was, he would have fixed it by now. But they have to do some deep. Obviously, finishing this season strong and maybe going 8-4 and winning a bowl game, getting to 9 wins would cure a lot. I mean, someone pointed out to me, like outside of the 2 10-win years, they haven't had a regular season without the bowl. We'll take the bowls out. They haven't had a season. They've only had 2 seasons of more than 7 wins, and it was the 2 Citrus Bowl teams. Like the Belk Bowl team that won 8, but I was with a bowl. So, like, if they can get to 8 regular season wins, like, it's only the 3rd time it's been done under Stoops. Like, this would be one of his most successful teams. So that's still on the table. But I just feel like if it doesn't get to that point, if it's 7-5 again, if it's 6-6, God forbid it's 5-7, there needs to be a lot of soul searching, a kind of a, for lack of a better word, investigation into what is going on that's causing this, because it's only going to get harder with this division stuff over. And you have Texas on the schedule next year. You have Auburn is going to be a lot better. They're going to be on the schedule next year. Like, Ole Miss on the road. It's only going to get harder, man.
Truth be told, maybe this is the first time Stoops has had to deal with this much star power.
No doubt.
At a young age, with NIL and transfer portal.
Yeah, no doubt.
Could that be something that's kind of because y'all?
I know it was last year until they figured out the collective.
Yeah, y'all know how it is with team sports, man. Any little negativity just throws off everything. You want to, you don't want to be overly, you want to be real, but you want to be as positive as possible with everybody. But, again, first time he's had to deal with this many stars and at a young, as freshmen, dealing with NIL, dealing with transfer portal, dealing with a quarterback who felt like he's supposed to be a draft pick and didn't get the start that he wanted. Yeah. Could it, could it be something that, I don't know, that's, that we don't see that's causing, them to not hold back, but it was holding them back a little bit. Because at the end of the day,
maybe taking some focus off that. I see.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, these young men nowadays in college, if they feel like they are that type of guy, they feel like they're a dog, they better be getting paid and be happy or they getting out of there. So there's a lot of, you wear a lot of hats now as a college football coach. Yeah. And I don't think he's ever had to wear this hat,
No.
So, at Alabama, Nick Saban's always had to wear the Stars hat. So he's used to dealing with this as a head coach. Stoops did it at Florida State, but he wasn't a head coach. But now, you're a head coach and you got to wear a lot of hats, dealing with a lot of high caliber athletes who feel like they should be getting this and that and this. So how is it? I don't know. It could be a lot of things, man.
Yeah, the portal, they're in a tough place with the portal too, because they're a program that people do want to be out and be in the SEC, but the players who maybe feel like they're not getting enough playing time or they could take another step, they're still another level ahead of Kentucky. So I know for a fact until they got the collective stuff, there was some real fear of losing. I'm not going to name names, but there was a real fear of losing some of the star talent from last year's roster.
No doubt.
And the collective they were able to keep their core. They lost guys like Justin Rogers, but they were able to keep the big names. And, this year I've heard a couple names floating around that are guys that are flirting with it. And I'm sure that's a distraction. Like, it is what it is. But that's college football now, man. You got to find a way to balance all that stress. And when you got to take it one, I understand you have to recruit and stuff, but when it comes to the in season, you got to just focus on things one game at a time, getting a game plan together and just focusing on winning the day and winning a game. I feel like you got to kind of push that portal stuff to the side, have a staff in place with the NIL that can kind of take care of that and talk to players and talk through things. But if they're letting those type of things come a distraction, they're just going to get left behind. That's how college sports is right now. Look at Clemson, man. They don't know what the hell they're doing with the portal, and I don't know enough on their NIL. I don't know enough what what their NIL situation is, but I can tell you they're falling behind. I think eventually Michigan State basketball, they're going to fall behind with some of the stuff that they talk about with the portal. So we've already seen, even Georgia adapted. Like, Georgia was the one team that was able to avoid using the transfer portal last year and still win it. And this year they went out and recruited their wide receiver room out of the portal. Like, you have to adapt. You just have to.
So what y'all think about old Dabo? Is he make some points, but you don't want to hear it? Or, I mean,
I've had Dabo things that are worse than this. I actually think, like, that was a personal attack. Like, once you personally attack someone, and I'm not saying the caller was wrong, like, he is making a crap ton of money and it should be better than 4-4. But when you tell someone to their face you're making this much and not performing, I think you have a right to defend yourself. And it is a little different with Clemson. It'd be one thing if this was happening at Georgia or Alabama, where at Clemson, like, they were not even Georgia, because they had a long drought. But if it were happening at Alabama, LSU, something like that, where Clemson, like, they were they were they were a little more than an afterthought for 30 years. And then Dabo comes in there and they go on a half-decade run where they're right there, if not ahead of Alabama. They're the premier program of the sport. And, yeah, they've fallen off a little bit. There's no doubt about that. They're falling behind with the portal. But I do think in that case where he's being attacked, Dabo has a right to defend himself there. He is a two-time national champ. But some of the other stuff, like maybe we should lose some games so people can – like that stuff is – come on. But I didn't have that big of an issue with this one.
Yeah, I think we live in a world now where, on social media, over the phone, people just say whatever they feel like they can say.
Over the phone's better than Twitter. At least he said it.
No, yeah, he had the balls to say it.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, like what? I just don't, I just don't know about that, man. I don't respect somebody saying that type of thing to a coach who has won 2 national championships at Clemson. Come on, man. Clemson ain't no blue blood. I ain't hear about Clemson until I got in high school.
That's exactly right.
I mean, I didn't know anything about Clemson until I got in high school. And I still didn't know a lot about Clemson in high school. It took me to college to, okay, this is Clemson. Like, I knew, okay, where's Clemson, South Carolina? Where, that's a legit, I didn't even know who Clemson rival was until I got to high school. Like, and you talking, this is a coach who, he happened to be, now, yes, he has to adapt, but, to call a man out like that, I don't respect anything about that.
No.
Now, some of the stuff Dabo said, I don't think he shouldn't have said as a guy who's in that leadership type position. Mm-hmm. But I'm all for. I would have been okay if he would have cussed dude out on the phone.
Yeah, part would
have been like, yeah, you deserve that for saying that. I just don't think for people who hadn't done anything, like what make you who are you to say something like that to a guy who has won 2 national championships? Had I don't know how many 10-win seasons in a row.
A lot.
How many ACC championships in a row? Now, granted, ACC is very weak, but I mean, dude, like, come on, man. Like, it goes back to like this fan thing. I've always said this, and a lot of people take this the wrong way. But about 90% of fans absolutely means nothing to most players. Nothing, because we know that as a player, most players know. The ones who are aware, they know that those people are just exactly what they are, fanatics. When it's going good, they're fanatical about everything that's going good. When it's going bad, they're fanatical about everything that's going bad. They're not true, they're not true rooted like fans of whoever the player is, whoever the school is, however they're doing. I got a kid that I coach who said, Coach, I was joking on him about Clemson. I was like, Clemson 4-4 now. I was like, come on. He was like, Coach, whether they 10-0 or 0-10, I'm going to wear this hoodie every day. I respected that so much because that a lot of fans don't think like that.
No.
Man. And you want to know, just go look at the comments under these players' posts sometimes.
Brutal.
Go look at some of these 50 and 55-year-old grown men who are saying some of these things to these young men, that are just downright disrespectful and tasteless. At some point, you got to put some of these people in their place. And I really believe that. You got good fans. I know a lot of good fans. When I was at Eastern at Kentucky, just like whether I threw 3 interceptions or threw 4 touchdowns, they were like the same. But you do have those that are like, a lot of those, I should add, that just like, come on, bro. Like, at the end of the day, is this affecting your happiness so much that you're willing to send a 1,000 word? One day I wish I could show y'all some of the DMs that I used to get. It's ridiculous, So yes, Dabo shouldn't have said some of the things he said, but I'm all for at some point putting people like Tyler in their place, man, because some of those people need to be put in their place, especially talking to a coach who, has probably brought you some of your best memories and best days of your life when winning national championship. So, yeah.
So I think Tom Leach would have cut the collar off if it was trying to say that about Stoops. A lot of call-in show hosts would have jumped in and cut Tyler off and not let Tyler say everything he said. Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Dabo's right in the sense that the expectation over appreciation, because you expect all this, and now you have a 4-4 season, and now you blow up. But I don't want to hear it coming from Dabo, because he kind of talk out of both sides of his mouth. A lot of coaches do, but don't act like you just so great and this sleazy world of college football. But none of the sleaze is on me. I'm the non-sleazy coach in a sleazy world. Don't give me that. I ain't trying to hear that from him. So he made some points. The caller went too far in being upset. Fans will be upset, but enjoy what you had and think about, if you've been a fan that long, think about what they were before he got them to where they were a few years ago.
Yep.
But I just, that coming from Dabo, I kind of like just, whatever, man. Just because I'm not really a fan of him, and I'm gonna leave when players start getting paid, and he ain't went nowhere. He's still cashing that $11 million checks. So you say that kind of mess. That's why I can't really rock with him for some of that stuff either.
Yeah, some fans got to realize that they could be, he could easily been born, a fan of the school 3 hours south in South Carolina. When last time South Carolina has won a national championship?
Never.
You could have easily been born a fan of a school that's a few hours north and Wake Forest or NC State. When the last time have they won anything? So again, like, you are a part of the 1% of the 1% of a fan that has, in your lifetime, had the chance to celebrate like 11 ACC championships and 2 national championships. And like Dabo said, I agree with you, but that he did bring up a point of, not only did we win 2 national, we beat the best of the best possible. That wasn't a year that somebody
crap out of Alabama in the second. Yeah. They beat Alabama last minute, and then they kicked the crap out of them.
It wasn't a year where somebody slipped up and got to TCU, who made a national championship game. They played Bama and beat them twice. And go look at Bama's roster in those national championship games. It's like they're all almost starting in NFL right now. So he do, I see what you're saying, because that's true too, because nobody's clean in this college football world. Nobody. Mm-hmm. Everybody has something that they can that they buried. So I see both sides, and I understand fan frustration. I understand that. I get it. I get it when I put myself in their shoes. It's hard for me because I've never really been a fan of anything like that. I've never been that type of fan, but I do understand when your team isn't winning, how disappointing it is and all of that. But you got to have some type of
perspective.
Yeah, like, and just like decency to say, hey, we went 10-2 just 2 years ago, or whatever it was.
They went 10-2 last year. I think their third loss was in the Orange Bowl.
Right, and that was a terrible year to people, and I get it. They had some mistakes and whatever, but just be, put it into perspective, man. You could easily be a Mississippi State fan.
Yeah, that's true. You could be a Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
For being real.
Yeah, it's so, and look, just where Kentucky's at now with Stoops is like, that's the best they've been in my life. I'm about to be 46 years old, and I remember when Van Hals played on the team that went 1-10. I remember that, telling my dad, "Hey, Kentucky just won. I think they beat Indiana that year or something. They won a game, a game. Kentucky won. I remember, running in, saw the score or whatever. Whoa, Kentucky. That's Florida State used to be the good team I rooted for, because I was a Kentucky fan, but the football wasn't good. But Florida State, Miami, I was always a Florida State fan when they was playing Miami. That was the game of the year and all that. You just got to remember how terrible it was. Remember how bad it's been, and it can't last forever. The peaks. Somebody else is going to eventually get you. You're going to slip a little bit.
You're going to have to change your expectations. I think unfortunately, we'll see. I mean, maybe I'll be wrong, but I think that's kind of going to happen here with football, where with the way that the SEC is going to be, I think I know it sounds crappy, but like you might have to settle for just getting to a bowl and being happy with that. With how Kentucky, it just is what it is in this conference, man. Like they're gonna have to finish above Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and all those, Texas every year. It's just not gonna happen. Like you're gonna have to readjust expectations, and that probably has to happen at Clemson, and eventually it will. But I get why they're feeling that way right now. But it's all about, you gotta, even Kentucky basketball. Like if it continues to get this bad, or like at some point, like you're gonna have to be like, okay, at least we got in the tournament. Like just because it's been so good for so long. But eventually, like that's how it's going to become if it keeps on that trend, and fans are trying to keep it from happening. And there's always a reassessment of expectations. I think Florida State fans last year were pretty damn happy going 10-3 and winning the Cheez-It Bowl, and now they're taking the next step. Like it's all about perspective.
What goes up must come down, man.
Yep.
In 6, 7, 8, 9 years, somebody's gonna be calling Alabama's radio station and eat off just like that, because
That already happened this year. They were yelling at Nick.
But Bama going to have to really readjust expectations when Nick Saban leave out of that seat. Like they're going to have to readjust expectations. They're going to go back to being a 7-5, 8-4 at best program. It's just is what it is. What goes up must come down, man. You can't be on top forever. Nobody has, and nobody ever will. It is what it is.
No, absolutely. We mentioned Levis 2 years ago with Mississippi State. He showed out Sunday for the Titans. I mean, all these Vol fans / Titan fans had to change their tune when they didn't want him drafted on their team based off of what he did in his first game ever against the Falcons. So that was,
That's
cool. Get D-Hop the ball, and he was getting him the ball, man.
Yeah, he really wasn't. His best throw of the day, too, wasn't. I mean, obviously the 2 touchdowns, or 3 to Hopkins, the 2 deep balls, but the best throw of the day was that last one to Westbrook, or I think, I don't know, Westbrook. The one where he was kind of threw it across his body, and I mean, that was sick. And I saw Aaron Rodgers talking about that throw. I saw Jason Kelsey talking about that throw. Like, he earned a lot of respect throughout the league in one game. So, it's one game. I think I've always said, I think he's a great pros prospect. He's going to kind of surprise people when he gets to the league and does some things. But that's a hell of a way to start. He's got a big challenge on a short week in Pittsburgh, but I was really happy to see that. And I'm sure and they kind of talked about it, Liam Cohen, Mark Stoops, not only are they happy to see Will Levis doing that, but anytime we get a quarterback into the league and have success, guys can draw something from that and get excited on the recruiting trail. So we've already seen, 2 quarterbacks commit since Levis was drafted, and then Cohen came back, and it may be a sign of things to come there.
No doubt about that. I mean, and you heard Stoops talking about it. I'm sure it's exciting for everybody. I mean, he said they were in meetings and he turned around and so that's good, like you said, and I'm sure they love it for Will. They love it for their program,
for themselves. Yeah,
they love it for recruiting, because it does matter to the high school athletes, student athletes, that a quarterback from your school is thriving at the highest level in the NFL. He played for the coach that's there right now. So, okay, let me check into that coach. And that's how you get those 4- and 5-star quarterbacks to, sign on that dotted line, man. That's what they want. So, that's good. So that's good, man. And, I think he has the talent to continue to kill it.
Absolutely.
You just got to, continue to get guys around him, though. That's going to be the key. So, we'll see what he doing up in Pittsburgh. But like I said, he has a bazooka on his right shoulder, man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And just from my selfish personal fantasy football, man, I drafted him and held on to him. And I was like, because at some point Tannehill is going to flame out or get hurt or something. And I just got a sneaky suspicion he'll get into that lineup, and had the flex let you be, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, whatever. So put 2 quarterbacks in there. Levis is my second one, and he got like 53 points. So I'm like,
Yeah,
get you feel like a little smart GM for 1 week.
No, that was a hell of a debut, and there was even Jalen, your guy Bud Dupree got to him too. He had a sack, so there was Kentucky and Kentucky crime in that game, and that was a fun one. It was a good one definitely a good one for the program, good one for Will, obviously, and we'll see if you can't build on that thing.
Yeah. Shout out to whoever's running Kentucky's social media team. It's impeccable.
And then Josh Allen will be having a chance to try to get at him next week. No, Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen he's going to get paid.
Oh, yeah.
Man. He's a free agent, and he's where is he? Is he? I know Thibodeau's third in the league in sacks. I think Neil Hunter and Josh Allen are the only 2 ahead of him, if I'm not mistaken. So, man, really cool. Really cool.
And almost halfway through the season, could Levis fool around and still being the best quarterback prospect from this class?
I'll tell you what, like Stroud, I didn't see. I know the Panthers beat the Texans. Stroud? How did Stroud play? I know Stroud had been balling up until
15-13 game. They didn't put up any points. I was surprised.
140 yards. He didn't throw a pick. 66. Yeah, he was okay.
I thought Houston would win that. I was like, no way that they were rolling.
I think at the end of the day, this has a chance to just be a really good class and kind of be one where, it's hard to argue who was the best. Like Anthony Richardson, I didn't see it coming, but he was balling until he got hurt. Like he looked really, really good. All those tools that we heard about were kind of on. And it's kind of been the year where you kind of had 2 tool quarterbacks, right? Where a lot of Will Levis last year didn't have the most success, injury, whatever. He threw a lot of picks the year before that. Otherwise, I thought he was excellent. And then Richardson was kind of up and down, but both of those guys were just guys that you saw the tools, you saw the NFL frame, you saw the throws, where Bryce Young and CJ Stroud were more dominant winners at the college level. And maybe it's going to work out for all of them. I mean, honestly, I think Bryce Young will be fine. I think Carolina's kind of a dumpster fire right now.
Yeah.
They've got some work to do, but Stroud, it has a 9-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio as a rookie. Like that's almost impossible
for the Texans.
Yeah, exactly. And Will Levis looked great. Richardson was playing well. Hopefully he'll be, good, and that won't become a recurring thing with injuries for him. But I think it just we'll see about Will being the best of the group, but I think it just has a possibility to be a damn good quarterback class.
I mean, the other ones had a head start on him, and then for him to make this kind of splash at the midway point, and then a lot of them, I mean, it doesn't matter. They could be just a great class, but a lot of people want to just throw him at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Automatically.
And he's the one who had to go through the draft day crap where the camera's on him and he's sliding and ultimately slides out of that first round. So, he went through a lot to get to this point. So he wasn't even the guaranteed backup. It wasn't the backup necessarily. I think Malik Willis went in when Tannehill got hurt initially.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and 3 of them in the same division too.
Yeah, that's what's wild about it. Yeah,
so
that'll be fun. Too bad. I think the Texans and Colt. No, never mind. He won't play. He won't get to play. What's his name? Richardson this year. I'm trying to think if they already played their 2 against the Texans or not. I know they played 1. So we'll get that Stroud Levis matchup at some point.
Yeah, exactly. And lastly, real quick, man, I sent it. Aaron, you already knew. We saw it. Cal Tucker's piece about Cal. A lot of stuff that people already had heard, but it was kind of maybe
it was good
chronologically just laying out, what goes up must come down. That's the epitome of the company. 4 Final Fours in 5 years. You can't just keep that going, and it's to come down. And this was a lot of things that went into the coming down. Departures of key people in the organization. Dwayne Peavy and John Robick and assistants and staffers, and Cal's approach changing, a lot of different things happening at the same time that kind of led to where we are. And can he get it back? Can he ramp it back up again?
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, Kyle's the man. I thought it was incredible work, and the insight and perspective he got was just unbelievable. And I think that it kind of, like you said, confirmed a lot of things we kind of already knew, and maybe even expanded on it even more. And I saw people whining about, oh, why would you drop this 5 days before the he is entering the most important year of his tenure here. Like it is undeniable. He's going back to exactly how he wants his team. He didn't go the portal route. He's doing it his way. This is how he expects to win. And the program, the expectations are as low as they've been. I mean, they haven't been ranked outside the top 10 to start a year in his tenure. They're ranked, fourth in the SEC is where they're picked?
Yeah.
Like, it's never been like this. And he has the chance to prove everyone wrong and kind of turn back the clock and, either get back to the top, go out on top, whatever. There's a lot, and the season's in 5 days. Yes, this is the right time for this piece. There was no, it wasn't a hit piece from Kyle Tucker. He was explaining, it was simply how did we get here? How did we get to the point where this is it, not it, you're going to get fired, Cal, but you have to deliver with this team or else no one's going to think of you highly again. People are going to think of you as the Hall of Fame coach where the game's passed them by. This is the right time for that piece. And I just couldn't believe people were complaining about the timing and thinking it was a hit piece. Kyle Tucker, I've gotten to know him pretty well. He's not hitting Calipari with this. This was just good journalism. It's good perspective going into the year. And look, Cal has been kind of at his best throughout the years when he's been doubted, and he's being doubted. So maybe this, if anything, will help him. So just a great article. That's why The Athletic's worth it, man, if you're not subscribed.
Yep. Good stuff for sure. So we had to get that in there as well. Oh, Aaron, man, have as safe a trip as possible to Starkville.
Oh, it'll be safe. It'll just be long. Got to drive. Not looking forward to it, but we'll be all right.
Jalen, man, dial up some good plays for Friday for your squad, man, and try your best to put them young fellas in the best position possible to make plays and let the chips fall where they may, man.
That's what I try to do, man. We'll continue to learn, but that's what I'll try to do. We'll see what we can do.
There you go. Check Aaron's coverage out on the Cat's Paws. Good article about the defense just before this podcast started that he tweeted out. All kind of great content. And be sure to check us out here, Believe.com, wherever you get your podcasts. Watch us, listen. Sea of Blue puts these episodes up on their sites. We definitely appreciate that as well. And look, we'll be back next Wednesday to talk about it. And hopefully we're talking about
That's a busy week. We'll have a football game, a regular season basketball game by then, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Alabama coming to town.
Monday's the basketball game.
Monday's the season opener.
Yeah.
So
Champions Classic,
not Champions Classic, New Mexico State.
Yes, my bad. Yes.
Yeah, it's a game that counts. It's a game that counts.
Yeah, Kentucky
Champions
State
Classic is 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah,
so we're 13 days out of that.
Kentucky State tomorrow for the last
preseason.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
So we'll have a lot to talk about next Wednesday. Point is,
and hopefully 6-3 is among one of those things that we're talking about. For Eric Gershon and Jayla Whitlow, my name is Vinny Hardy. Another episode of Believe in Kentucky, and we will holler at everybody next week with all that stuff to talk about that we just mentioned. So y'all be cool, and we'll holler at y'all then.